So what do you attribute the reductions in crime compared to 224?
What, say the first part again. What did what?
What do you attribute?
What do we
Oh,
attribute?
okay, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You know, I said to Sergeant Moscoso, that's going to be the first question they ask when we get in here. So obviously, the hard work of every police officer and detective in this department, but it's hard to say because the criminal justice system all plays a part in crime reduction. There's a lot of variables. We enforce the law. We make arrests when officers have probable cause that someone's committed a crime. We put them in, take them to be magistrated, and whatever happens after that is all part all plays a part in crime reduction or crime increases. So I can't say specifically what. Let me scratch all that. Let me start over again. And I'm talking on. So the question was, what do I attribute it to? I attribute it to the hard work of the police officers, for one. And there's a lot of variables that matter when you're looking at crime reductions, crime increases, and I can't specifically say what I attribute that to, but I will say that the officers are working harder. Our arrests are up this quarter as they were last quarter, and that plays a big part in it as well. People can't commit crimes on the street if they're in jail.
We saw on social media you put out some of those numbers in the drops and raids. Do you have those to kind of tell us just standing here?
Do I have those in what?
Do you have like the numbers that you posted earlier
I
on
do.
social media? Would you mind like sharing some of those?
Sure.
We also forwarded those to, y'all have the numbers specifically they have on there, but
So let me kind of summarize the presentation. It was rather short. So we track crime using the NIBRS system, and that is a National Incident-Based Reporting System. We report crime up to 10 crimes per event. Before, we didn't do that. We only counted the most serious crime. So we're actually reporting crime more thoroughly than we did before. And NIBRS, National Incident-Based Reporting System, that came into effect in January of 2021. That's when we started reporting that way. 10 crimes per event, all of them get reported, as opposed to prior to that, only the most serious crime. So that's what we're doing right now as far as our reporting system goes. So almost a 13-point reduction in violent crime, a 24.5% reduction in property crimes. That's a significant drop, and big drop in vehicle thefts. Part of that might be because Hyundai came into town and Kia came into town, and they had they invited folks to come in and have their keys all reprogrammed, so people couldn't use that TikTok method of stealing their cars. Believe that helped drop the numbers of vehicle thefts. We have a new, not new, it's relatively new, Property Crimes Task Force. They work on the street. They do great work. We used to work from the office on property crimes, and not anymore. So I think the Property Crimes Task Force has had a big effect on property crimes. And again, it's hard to say exactly. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what caused such a precipitous drop, but in fact, it's all good news that we had that drop.
And we're talking citywide.
Citywide, yeah, citywide.
Perfect. That agency that gave you those numbers is working with SAPD, or is part of the SAPD that gives those statistics?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding your question.
So the agency gave you the numbers, and then you reflect those numbers, right?
So we pull all the numbers out of our CAD system, and we look at the numbers for the first quarter, look at the number of reports for the first quarter versus the number of reports for the first quarter of 2024. And that's how we right, so we get those
So
numbers.
it's pulled out from here, from.
Yeah, we pulled it out from here,
Perfect.
and then what we do is report it to the FBI through DPS. So, and again, it's the NIBR system. DPS checks those numbers, and then after they check those numbers, they pass them on to the FBI.
How do you feel I'm sorry.
No, you're good, go ahead.
Personally, that is reduction, especially Fiesta is around the corner. How do you make you feel those numbers going down compared last year, Chief?
How do we make it?
How do you feel personally?
Oh, I mean, it's nothing but good news. But I'll say this, that, you know, whenever I speak at community meetings, and I'm going to I don't necessarily like reading crime stats, because if I'm talking about reductions in crime and you've been the victim of a crime, you don't really want to hear that. You know, that's not something you're interested in. So I don't necessarily like to do that, but the numbers are what they are. And I'm going to report them whether they show a reduction or whether they show an increase. The numbers are what they are.
So in some of the city safety committee meetings, we saw that hotspot policing kind of contributed to cracking down on crime in smaller areas. Is that something that you might expand across the city now that you're seeing more success?
Well, I mean, the hotspot program was citywide to begin with, and I will say that that has had an impact on our violent crime. It's still ongoing, the violent crime reduction program. And that, I believe, based on the numbers, just from that program, has had an impact on our violent crime. And that reduction that we see in violent crime is certainly, at least in part, due to that violent crime reduction program.
In which areas of the city have this reduction being most noticeable?
I don't have that. I don't have the answer for that. But again, the numbers are citywide numbers. So
We saw in District 10, most specifically, Councilman White calling for more officers in a higher volume. Do you think that that would contribute to the success you're already seeing, is pulling more officers in and helping keep these numbers low?
I do. There's debate whether that helps or not, but in my opinion, over the years that I've experienced, you know, increases and decreases in staffing, it definitely does have make a difference in your crime. And I think importantly, along with that, it makes people feel safe. If you see more police, you feel safer. And that's a big part of it, people's perception of safety.
So where do we go from here? We've got the crime reduction. How do you continue the trend going forward?
Yeah, so there's no finish line here. I mean, we're not happy and, you know, sitting back resting on our laurels because we've seen such a big reduction. We want to continue that, and we will continue to come up with different strategies, working with our different law enforcement partners to do that.
And
One more.
One more. What challenge remain despite the drop in statistics, Chief?
What challenge? We've got a lot of challenges. We can start with, you know, recruiting and retention of our police officers, making sure that they have the tools necessary to do their job properly and as best they can. Challenges, continuing to work with the community and trying to keep those reductions low. We do our best work when we have the community helping us. If we don't have the community helping us, you know, we've got one arm tied behind our back. We have great community participation here in San Antonio. We always have. We built a great foundation of community support over the years because of the work that we do. I'm very proud of that, very proud of the department for being able to maintain that foundation.